Hi everybody, it's Colin here from Woodthorpe International. What I thought I may do is show you what new things I've learnt about on iTrains. It's not new, it's just what I've learnt. And unfortunately I'm going to have to hold the camera, my phone camera, because I need to move it to different places on the screen and stuff like that. So I do apologise for any excess movement. But I'm going to do different things on, like one is stations, and I don't mean station platforms, I mean stations where iTrain in fully automation will go to and do things when it gets there, like wait a certain amount of time or very little time, depending on what you want it to do. But the first thing I'm going to cover is what I have personally done to iTrains, and I personally think it's better for it. I'm not saying it needs it, I just prefer it. As you're looking at a screen there, you're just looking at, if I just back up a bit, Japan. That is a full map, the top part of it, the bottom piece I've not got in the shot. But to me, if my sisters come round who are a bit older than me and they look at that, they're just going to think it's a load of grey lines on a darker grey background, and what do they mean? And where do they go? And I'm hoping this will help them. So what I've actually done was put colour on the actual line itself. And what I started with first was that small dot. And then I decided it wasn't big enough, so I went on to a bigger dot. Now these dots I can place virtually, I can do it on a vertical like that, I can do it on a horizontal, and I can maneuver with all the different buttons it gives you for diagonals. It's not perfect, but it would indicate on a diagonal line. But what I've actually come up with, because the further you go away, the less you can see it. But naturally, if the camera or the picture is bigger, you can see it. And in between the colours, the light grey changes colour when there's a train on it. So I know the dots didn't interfere with anything what was going on with iTrains itself, because it's like on another layer. iTrains unfortunately doesn't layer levels of, you can draw on like on any rail, and then you can have another layer which is just baseboards or scenery. And if you did, if you just not eliminate it but take it off, you end up with just a picture of the track and the baseboards, no scenery. So there are advantages for it, but it's like a layer because it's over the top, so it doesn't affect anything. But what I've come up with is this solid, more solid line, but it means I can only do it vertical and horizontal. I can't do any of the diagonals in either direction. But for me, that is easier to see from a distance, and even without my glasses on, looking at the screen you're looking at, I can see that as clear as anything. Where the dots, I couldn't. It would have to be, I'd have to be a bit closer. So personally, I think that is better. And if I just zoom out a bit, if it is the right way of going, and try and get the whole plan on. This is America, is this? This is now done for all the feedbacks and all the blocks and the directions I want it to go and stuff like that. And for me, that is clearer to see. And in all fairness, as you all know, it always looks different and better with your own eyes than looking through a camera and the reflection of the screen and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to stick with. I just think it's so much better than that. And if I go up to the fiddle yard for America, the one with the numbers on is the American fiddle yard. The green is for Europe, and it's exactly the same size. All of the fiddle yards are the same, so it's made it easier for me to draw for itrains, but I just think it's better than just looking at all those lines. A fiddle yard's not so bad because they're sort of all in a ladder system and it's easy to see, but crisscrossing and going all over the place, it's just, I think, easier to look at like that. And then at the top, I've done the colour and what it actually stands for. So the yellow is the down line, up line in that light blue, heritage timber is in the actual colour of the lines, and the timber and wood yard are in green. That's the timber yard up there, and this is going to be the wood yard down here. Not exactly like that, but for now it will do. So I personally like that. Very easy to do. Just took a bit of finding. Unfortunately, it only does anything what's on the keyboard, not made up. There's no colouring with itrains. It's just what keys there is, and I found a key what would do that. So, and it's not the minus or anything like that. I'll just show you. It's that key and that symbol there. So I'd either put them on horizontal or vertical. So that's my way of helping, I think, people looking at it. And people who I've asked up to now have all said it is better for them who doesn't understand it. They can see the blue line where it goes, and the gap in between from there to there is easy enough just to quickly follow. And I think this will also help more in England and Europe layouts, because there's 4 lines going round, where America's there's only 2 continuous, and same in Japan. But another thing I've learnt about is simulated movement, and it's made me learn about the track. Whenever anybody, I watch people build plans and things like that, and this, they put questions out for us to comment. One thing I always say, which I had advice to many years ago, is run it. See how it feels, see how it goes. And doing it simulated, I have learnt some things about my track, and I didn't like it. Only from the point of view of other things that I've learned, which I'm going to go in another series, like an episode of iTrains, is fully automation. And then this fully automation bit is an absolute game changer. But one thing in the past what put me off was I want to play trains as well. I want to drive them. And when I spoke to James at DCC Automation, he said you can. Easy as wink. Even if the train is being used in fully automatic, you can take control of it, and the moment you stop doing things and itrains realise it should be doing something like stop, it takes control again. So it made a big difference. But something I've learned about, I don't know about you, but sometimes I just like to go into in my case, a shed, and I might only have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I just want to run some trains round. And there might be the ones that are on the track, they might not have come from a fiddle yard or things I might have put on, but there might be, in this case, a couple of lines. There could be down this side here, there could be 5 trains in, one of the ones on the through line here, because if you notice these white marks here, they're a different shape to them. That means it's a free line, as I've told it, and that is a station platform line. So I could have a good engine in there with some good wagon on and there, but there could be 5, and I could just go up to it and say, I want to just to run. Now you don't have to, if I wanted to do something else, I don't have to do any programming at all for a train to run. I don't even need to touch the controller. Once it's turned on and got power to it, the track and power to a computer, if I go to say that class 28, I know it's in English because I've only got a certain amount of trains programmed into itrains. But if I just right click, there's a start button. And if you click that, and which I will, and what will happen is it'll reserve so many blocks in the direction it's going. And as you can see, it's reserved that block and that block, and the engine is starting to run. It's not moving, this doesn't move, it just indicates it on the line that there is a train in this block. And this next colour indicates it's reserved. So if I was trying to drive something into it, it wouldn't let me, because also the points have got a lock on. So I couldn't change that to drive a train onto it. So to move it forward in simulation, you've got to click on the feedbacks. But naturally you don't in the actual layout world. And as you can see, it moved round into this. Now this is a different colour to that, because that is in a station for fully automation, not a station with platforms. Why they've called it that, I do not know. I think it's because you can stop them in there and things like that, but that's what it's called. But basically, in the real world of my layout, that train will run all the way around continuously until I stop it. And there is a stop, or if I click finish, it will go back to the start when it will stop there. So if I just press stop, because I've had it running around for 10 minutes, say, it is now in that block waiting for me to come back another day. But for me, learning about that is, and again, it's a game changer for me, because it takes what some people and myself thought, there's so much fiddling about to do it, automation, but there isn't. There's so many different, there's 4 different ways, 5 if you include that, but the manual says there's 4 different ways of running trains. Manually, semi-automatic, and in that semi-automatic you can have routes or train routes just for that particular train, not any other train, but a track route, any train can go on it. And then fully automation, so fully automatic, where you click it to go and it goes off wherever the itrains can take it. And when there's going to be 4 countries, that's going to be exciting. It's going to be great to see. But you can put restrictions on. So in the video I do to do with this area here, or the sum of it here, the yellow's in a station and the blue is in a station. If you look there, where that dotted line is, there, fiddle yards are in stations. It's going to be really exciting, this fully automation. But that's all I'm going to talk about to do with iTrains this time. Any questions, please do ask. But another thing I have found running with iTrains in simulation is a couple of little bits I didn't like. Some I knew and I thought I could live with, but because I was running the simulation, I couldn't do it. In America, basically, to get to the fiddle yard, the trains had to be on the outside up line. They would go off down here and into the fiddle yard, the first 7 and then round to the next 4, and then out again here and back onto the down line. Sorry, here where it goes in, it's on the down line. I do apologise. So to get to the inside, it would have to go all the way around the layout, go down that line to get to there and round on to the up line, go all the way around into the station or stop here, back into the station or the through line, and then unclip, go to the other end with the engine, and then drive in the right direction, because America drives on the other side of the road. So that has to be that way. So I thought I could live with it, but I can't, because the moment I started moving trains about in simulation, it didn't feel right. So I've had to put on another line here, then incorporate it into this line, which was going that way only, but I've made it go both ways, and use these lines round here to get to it there, and it's going the right way then. That made more sense. So that's what I've done. It made me think about Japan. Japan I'm not so bothered about, because Japan has a lot of double-ended DMUs and bullet trains, have cabs at both ends. So for it just to come in here, it comes in here, it can get to its normal line in the direction it's going, or drive into there, and then it can just reverse and go the other way. That was okay, but not in America, not in Europe, and not in England. It made no sense. I have on both the lower layout, Japan, and this American, if I look down here, there, I've put this crossover. And that is purely for this one down here, it's purely for England, for two of the lines to get onto the right direction for the actual fiddle yard. So that is 2 extra points I put in. So that's gone to 204. I put in an extra point here, there, and there. So, and then 2 here. So that means it's another 5 points. So that's 217 points. 7 more than what I'd planned, and there's more. Just as a matter of interest also, I put them in there, so the inside lane, when it's running round, can get across and then go into the fiddle yard. Sorry about that, the door went, but I was going to pause it. As it turns out, I just couldn't get to the pause button in time. Just to show you the difference on England in this case, it's all down here. I've put in another 2 points there and 2 points there because I needed to get them out of the fiddle yard, use that line and then cut across onto that one for the station fast line, and that's the station fat line the other way, and then the goods lines are there and there, so I needed to get it across so it's going the correct way according to how we drive. So I've just done that here, and if we go, and these are the layers what I was talking about, that's the lower layer, and if I click on the upper baseboard, it covers England, and then put the upper track on, and then you see the upper track for Europe. And I've had to do the same here, is put these on. And the more I actually messed about with simulation and realizing how good itrains is going to be, it didn't matter that sometimes when I originally put this in, this line here was the original in. Oh, sorry, in Europe, this was the original in line. This was the outline. But because I need to get different lines to use it, I've had to put those in there as well. So that's basically another 8. So I've nearly put in 20 more points. I thought it was about 20, but it looks like it's 17. I don't think I've put any more, but that is one thing for having a go with simulation, because it's made it so I can get the feel of it. Just one other thing, because I've got 2 sheds, I will need 2 computers, so I'm going to have another laptop. I don't need those on now, so if I just delete them. Delete them. Now, this computer, the laptop, is the master. But this computer, as in that bit of the computer, That's a server, and the other laptop will be a server. And what happens is anything I do on any of them, like I've just deleted those lines with the dots on, they're still on that because I haven't applied it. And you always must save and apply, and the moment I click on save and then apply, they go. So they're all networked together. So if for some reason Gemma was in here looking at this, she could actually control a train from in here, because she'll see everything and can send a train. We could have some fun doing that. But the other thing I have learned, just one other thing I want to go over with you, is I have to join all of the plans together. So just to make it so we can see everything, I know it's a bit small. Where those two little dots are here, let me find my mouse, there, that's one side of the shed and this is the other, so that's the tunnel through. And then there's a tunnel going from here to the next shed down here, which will have England and Europe in, which isn't built yet. Now, because I've got these wide screens for this reason for itrains, there'll be one in each shed. This won't be going into it, but I've got one the same size, if I can get all the way back. In fact, I can't get back far enough. But the reason I've done this is because I knew I was going to have originally an 8-metre long shed. I know it's only 6 meters now, but I want to put, in this case, next to America, Europe here, and then I've put Japan down there with its fiddle yard next to it, joined on, and then I'm going to put England here. And it's so when I zoom in, I can get more on the screen instead of a small screen. If I just press it like that, if I have the vehicles on. If I want to, you can turn the vehicles off so the screen gets bigger, or what you also can do is give it a switchboard and it makes it a little bit bigger again. But you have no buttons like those at the top. You've got to be on the main program for that. But what you have to do is then join everything together. And Japan in the real world, on my layout, that America is over the top of that. And I've got to put it to one side so I can see it. So I've actually run 2 tracks from there, down, round here, down, across there, and onto that actual helix for it to finish down here. And they've got to be connected so it knows how far it's travelled to know it's got there. So, and I was hoping I could have had separate windows, but you can't. It only allows you to have the whole plan, which sort of makes sense because it's controlling the whole layout. So I didn't want these 2 lines showing. I thought it'd be confusing. So for my eyes, and as you look at it now, the colour is the same as the background in general. If you go in closer, You can just start to see the different, that's the two lines. But what I can't do is get rid of those two little corners there and there, which is fine. You can hardly see them. But I had to get Gemma to make the colour. I tried to make the colour and I said, can you do it? And she says, well, I don't know if I can. And she did it within 2-3 clicks. It is very easy to do if you know what colours make what colour and you know what you add to change it. So I think that made it a lot neater looking. Can't do out about them. I can't colour over them because, as I've said, the colouring is a layer above it and it would put a line right across and that would look silly, so I'm just going to have to put up with that. But it's only the helixes that will happen, and the same with Europe. I'll have to join on to England with the helix. I'm just going to have it running across a couple of tracks, but yeah, never mind. So I just thought I'd do this for this one, showing the colour on the track and talking about just running trains without any hassle whatsoever. Right click and go, and it just runs, and you can just stop it or stop it at wherever it started or the next convenient block. So in the next one I'll talk about the stations, what I've learnt about them, and I hope it helps. Those stations are very exciting. Like I say, it's a game changer. So thanks very much, and I hope, and do ask questions if you've got any, and let me know what you think about those colours on there. Up to now, people have shown have liked it, made more sense. So thanks very much, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye for now. Bye.